Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to 5v5 Live at Shot Callers Esports. I'm at Hempstead. That is Eric Kummel.
That's a fact as well.
It is. And we've been watching those playing group stages there. All but done. 4 teams. Gonzo. See you later.
Bye.
And the other 8 are moving on. But it wasn't exactly the results we expected in all of them, we'll say. Fnatic had some troubles. HK Attitude came out as the number 2 seed in Group D with Fenerbahce going out on top. So still some exciting results that we saw in that opening 4 days of Worlds.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, Fnatic did kind of have a rough final game in that group stage, and people are going to say, yeah, well, that game didn't really matter. They had already locked up first in that group, but there's really no point in not taking any of these games seriously, especially when you're only playing 4 in the group stage and then when one best of heading into Worlds. I mean, you want to be at your best form as you possibly can be heading into these things. So I don't think that's really any excuse to have a poor performance in a game.
Yeah, no, Fnatic was one of those top teams where you're like, what are you guys doing? Especially against young generations. Both games they looked pretty shaky and they ended up losing one. But yeah, even Reckless was like, we're going to take this game seriously and do what we can to win, and because we know there's a lot on the line with the other 2 teams trying to qualify, so we'll play our best and honor, the system. But they still lost. So, well, Fnatic's still hanging around as a number 1 seed, but we'll see what they can do moving forward. But before we actually get to full previews, let's touch on what we've seen so far on the world stage in terms of meta picks, because there's a couple of new things that we've seen that have kind of spiced up the tournament.
Oh boy, yeah. The main one, of course, is that Jungle Ezreal that we've seen. And I'll be honest, I'm still a little surprised that this is actually
a thing
becoming meta. I kind of thought it would be like that Lulu jungle that Spirit did in the LCK, where it was kind of like, haha, nice one. But it's actually kind of staying. And then you've also got this Rise that's surfaced and becoming more popular. It's kind of been there throughout the split, but I think a lot of that is just due to some of these smaller nerfs to a lot of the other mages in the mid lane. The Orianna has been changed a bit. Some of these other picks are slightly falling off. Not as many Cassiopeias, stuff like that. And I think when people really utilize Rise's ult, you can just kind of completely change the macro play of the game.
Yeah, well, Rise also just kind of changes the style of gameplay you're going to be looking at, because obviously that champ likes to make it to the late game. Does some decent power early on, but yeah, if you go late with Rise, it's a pretty strong champion, does a ton of damage, and the ability to just go across the map with that ultimate, definitely a big deal. So there's a good reason why Rise is in the meta again. The nerfs you mentioned to all these other champions, pretty much all the meta picks got some pretty significant nerfs. And then here comes Rise again. But yeah, the Ezreal jungle is something that's been played 2 or 3 times so far, I believe. Condi played it, Contracts played it, and it's been not overly exciting. There's been some pretty mixed results. I know Condi was getting picked apart a little bit by Lyon Gaming's Audi a couple times on the Kha'Zix. So if you can get in there and affect his early clear, you can definitely set that Ezreal behind.
Yeah, and I mean, with a champion like Ezreal, you don't exactly have the best clear time, especially on Raptors or Gromp. It's going to take you 30 seconds to kill those camps. And basically, if you don't have red buff, I mean, his gank potential is basically nothing. He has no CC, but I mean, the level 2 cheese off that red buff of just running mid lane, in solo queue, it probably works 90% of the time. You're getting first blood when you just run mid with that red buff. Obviously, in competitive, not as successful. Most guys are expecting that when they see that jungle Ezreal locked in. But I think the main reason this is kind of successful, at least in the later stages of the game, is because it's kind of like that quirky mid. And when you have an item as busted as Ardent Sensor, I mean, the more people that benefit from that, the better your team's going to be. So.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Ardent Sensor still has barely been touched. They made a minuscule nerf and we're like, it's good. Everyone just keep playing the game like nothing's changed. But yeah, Ardent Sensor, even AD carries are rushing Relic Shield to help that support get more money just to buy that Ardent Sensor earlier, and it's ridiculous. I did the other day with my buddy playing brand support, and he was rich just because, double
probably
gold
has more gold
than
you. If you're not CSing well and you don't have any kills, your support has more just sitting there.
Yeah,
especially with that coin item. You don't have to do anything. No. Well, there is the mini game in itself, which is kind of fun, picking up mana and gold.
Pretty exciting mini game.
Feels pretty good.
Walking over.
You don't have to last it. You just pick up the gold.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, it's an Ardent Sensor meta with some new junglers coming in Italy. Also, a pick that we're getting to see. There's been so many junglers, like double-digit jungle champs. So as of meta, I'm pretty happy with where it's at right now. You get a lot of different picks, good variety. It's not always the same 10 champs every game. So it should be an interesting world once it actually gets underway.
Yeah, and another champion you might see more of is something like the Ivern, again, to take even more advantage of that Ardent Sensor. And I mean, you can still kind of mess with the opposing jungler just by taking away their camps with his really highly gameplay interactive jungling style of pressing smite on camps. That's always fun. But yeah, I mean, there's pretty clear different play styles you can do in the jungle, whether you got these heavy engaged guys like Sejuani and Gragas, or you play the supportive / carry. I don't know how you're both, but I mean, you can be with a Nidalee or Ezreal. So it's very interesting in the jungle.
It's very interesting. Let's get to some of these games coming up, some of these matches. 4 knockout stages, best of 5s. Coming up, starting tonight, our time anyways, 11 p.m. EDT.
We're going to stay up for both best of 5s tonight.
Yeah.
Not actually.
Not actually. Because
it'll be 6 a.m.
Outrageous. We're definitely screwed over by the whole being in China thing. We're like 12 hours behind. So
yeah, you're just
convenient
like
for those guys.
180 degrees the wrong way, kind of.
Yeah.
180. Something like that.
So no spoilers.
No spoilers.
That's right. We're going to wake up and watch the VODs. But coming up first, Cloud9 and Lyon Gaming. Probably the one I'm most excited for.
It's pretty hype.
Cloud9 looking to tame those lions over there. Pretty good, huh? But yeah, I mean, Lyon is a team that's been so impressive so far in the tournament. Yeah, they didn't beat World Elite both times, but very competitive contest. And even in the early game, they were pushing around World Elite for some of it. But I have to say, so far, Cloud9 is the most impressive team we've seen in this play-in stage.
Yeah, I mean, Lyon has been very impressive and I think exceeded expectations that people had for them. But I mean, Cloud9 still obviously going to be a heavy favorite coming into this one. But there are some interesting matchups here. Obviously, White Lotus versus Sneaky and Smoothie. I mean, the guy played out of his mind in the group stage, and obviously Sneaky and Smoothie have been a little better ever since their gauntlet run, where they looked pretty fantastic. So they're on the up and up, and C9 as a whole, again, looked pretty solid. I was really impressed with the play of Contracts, and I think that's the matchup I'm actually most interested in, is that jungle matchup, because you saw him and Audi were both pretty aggressive in a lot of these games, like to play like the Nidalee, the Kha'Zix, or the Ezreal, just kind of getting in the opposing junglers' faces. So we'll see. I feel like one of them will get a little too over-aggressive, which we've seen both of them do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a matter of which one takes that step too far ahead and dies.
Even Audi was the guy who broke out Lee Sin in the first game he played, and we haven't seen that champ in months, it seems.
Lee Sin's always meta, man.
I wish it was more prominent, because it's not a Worlds unless there's Lee Sin doing crazy things with his combos. But yeah, you got to be looking at the mid lane mostly in this matchup. I mean, even Lion's mid laner, Sia, has been performing pretty well. I mean, he's been getting some solo kills, and just even his synergy with Audi is kind of overlooked. But it's going to be tough to compete against Jensen and Contracts, right? Like, those two have been working together so well pretty much all split long, and especially through those first 4 games. It's been pretty remarkable what they've been able to do, getting Jensen these early leads, and then it just turns over quickly into a win.
Yeah, and even when he's not necessarily getting all that jungle attention, like that last game against Direwolves where Sneaky was just getting camped out of his mind, Jensen was just kind of sitting there mid lane, accumulating a pretty significant CS lead, and then eventually he was pretty fed, and then Direwolves got over aggressive, blah blah blah. C9 closes it out in 25 minutes. But I mean, yeah, Jensen's going to be that consistent guy for them in the mid lane, and it's a good thing and kind of a bad thing that Lion's 2 biggest threats and best players are in that mid lane and White Lotus in the bottom, because that's pretty similar to what C9 is. So it seems like the teams kind of have similar strengths and weaknesses, which probably actually works to the disadvantage of Lyon.
Yeah, because you're just going to assume that Cloud9 is a little better at basically everything, just because, you know, they're Cloud9 and they're the 3rd best team in North America or whatever. But yeah, I mean, also what's impressive about Cloud9 is, especially that last game against the Direwolves, when they were down significantly, especially in kills, and then all of a sudden, Direwolves dives 1 turret too far, try to kill Jensen, and Cloud9 wins like 10 minutes later. So once they get a lead at all, they really know how to end the game, and you saw that in this tournament. They only have 1 game that reached the 30-minute mark, and even then it ended like right after the 30-minute mark hit. So once they get the lead, they have a perfect game plan of how to end these games, which is something we haven't seen a lot of these teams in the play-ins actually have. They seem to have some problems closing games out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the mark of like a really solid team. You see Korean teams do that all the time. You make a big mistake and, oh, the game's pretty much over. They can end it in like one push. SKT used to just get a turret, another turret, and they would just keep fighting until you lose an inhibitor at 20 minutes. And it's like, what happened to the game? Now, obviously, the competition C9's against is not of the highest quality that they were going to face, assuming they get to the actual group stage of Worlds. But yeah, it is a positive theme for them, and they do look like the strongest team in this play-in, closely followed by World Elite.
Yeah, it's definitely 1-2. But for Lyon Gaming, one guy who's really stood out is their AD carry, White Lotus. I know we touched on him a bit on Monday, but this guy is just shocked people with where he's come from. I mean, he has a pentakill on Kalista. His Kog'Maw positioning is near perfect, and he almost turns some of those team fights against World Elite in their favor. He's just been so surprising what he's been able to do. And, man, so impressed by this guy.
Yeah, and I think the main thing you'll see with a lot of these AD carries that maybe aren't household names is they're like super comfortable on one champion, usually Tristana right now, and then they look great on that, but then yeah, you put them on something different like a Kalista and maybe they're not as good. Xayah, they're not as good. This guy, 4 different champions, and he looked fantastic on all 4. I mean, he's going to have to keep playing at this level if Lyon has any chance, but I don't see any reason why he can't keep playing at that level. I mean, the team knows he's their best player. They play around him with pretty much in every team fight. As you can see, everyone's just like, where's White Lotus? Keep him safe. Focus whatever target he's focusing, and it seemed to work for them. 2 close games with World Elite because of how fantastic he was playing.
Yeah, 23 kills, 4 deaths, 9.5 KDA.
It's not so bad.
700 damage per minute. So he's pumping out the damage, putting up good numbers on a team that went 2-2 as well. So they didn't go 4-0 with those numbers. They went 2-2, dying only 4 times. It's pretty impressive. So yeah, this is definitely the guy to look out for. And against Sneaky and Smoothie, that was a duo lane that did die a couple of times just in lane, straight up 2v2 in their group stage there. So who knows? Maybe this bot lane of Lyon can take advantage of what C9 has going on down there, because we saw C9 struggle even against the Direwolves. That bot lane fell behind, and that could be an area of attack for Lyon, but this time actually push the advantage somewhere else.
Yeah, my only concern is that maybe they feel like they have to really take that advantage, press that advantage in the bottom lane, and maybe get a little too aggressive. I could definitely see contracts just kind of hanging around bottom within shouting distance for the majority of that early game, kind of expecting a lot of action there, because that was the theme in the group stage, it seemed like, at least whenever they played Direwolves. So I think C9's going to kind of adjust to that, and I could see Lyon kind of forcing too much to try and get that early advantage, get White Lotus ahead, and then, you know, how when things turn around, there's a counter gank. It's always the advantage of the counter gank because you don't know what's coming. So,
absolutely.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Contracts prioritizes, if it's going to be keeping Jensen safe in the mid or keeping an eye on that bot lane, because that's been the weak link so far for Cloud9. But let's get to a prediction. I'm sure we're both going to say Cloud9's going to win, but do you see Lyon taking a game at all?
I could definitely see them taking a game. I don't know if I see this going to 5. I think probably going to be 3-1 Cloud9. Maybe a couple of the games close, but I think in at least 1 or 2 of them, Cloud9 kind of really asserts themselves, maybe to close it out, and they're like, they are a better team. If they play to their capabilities, I think they should be able to handle Lyon pretty easily. They just don't have near the experience. Yeah, they dominate their region, but there's not nearly as much competition. So they're going to learn a lot from this whole process for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cloud9, I think, in a straight sweep. You saw Lyon have success against World Elite to a degree, but World Elite's weakness is probably their early game, and that's what Lyon really attacked and got after them and got them some early leads there. So I think with Cloud9 being more of an early focused team, that they're just going to kind of push Lyon around. But it should be hopefully a couple of good games in there, but I do think Cloud9 is going to be pretty dominant.
It'd be a pretty serious upset if
yes,
Cloud9 lost. But I mean, they're probably facing the best second seed, I guess.
Depends on
Hong
HKA.
Kong. Hong Kong's probably better.
But I'm disappointed to see Lyon going up against Cloud9 because I was hoping Lyon would get something like that Fenerbahce.
It would have been nice and fair if they got that matchup because then you could basically say the best wildcard team is actually getting into the tournament if they played a best of. Now you're looking at maybe losing a pool 1. Well, you're definitely losing one of the pool 1 seeds, so that's no fun. But TSM loves it.
TSM definitely loves it, yeah. We'll touch on that at the end. But let's move on to the next game that's happening tomorrow, tonight.
Right after.
Tomorrow, after the Cloud9 Lyon game. That is Fnatic against, why am I drawing a blank here?
Hong Kong Attitude.
Hong Kong Attitude, that's it.
Cool
and this
dragon.
one, man, the cool dragon. It is a dragon. I did my research, you're correct.
Not a crocodile.
Nope, not an alligator. A dragon. But yeah, this one has, I don't even know if you call it upset potential because Hong Kong Attitude also came in as a #1 seed. And Fnatic's just been stumbling through group stage. They had some pretty good wins over, KLG, but what do you expect? Of course, they're going to have good games over them. And then against Young Generation, hold on a second. One game goes like 50 minutes, and then they lose the other one. This is a disaster. And part of it is Caps getting solo killed in the mid lane, which is something that should not be happening. And even the most recent loss, it was YG actually turning around some 2v2s in the bot lane.
That was really poorly done there by the Fnatic bot lane. Reckless just totally overstepping, walking right past the Lulu into her face, and then
the cheese.
That's a tilter.
Yeah.
The old bush camp, especially when you're Fnatic, it feels even more bad. But yeah, Fnatic, I feel like they had the easiest group out of these pool 1 seeds and definitely did not look so dominant. And yeah, I'd be a little worried if I were them going up against Hong Kong Attitude, especially because, yeah, they are that pool 1 seed. Some people think they're better than AHQ, who are already in the main world's draw. So it's definitely not going to be a walk in the park for Fnatic. And Caps is definitely going to have to play better for them to come away with the series win in this one.
Yeah, and Fnatic's strength all year long was basically their early game. And getting those early leads, they had one of the biggest goal differentials early on in 15 minutes in EOCS, probably the biggest. And then all of a sudden they entered this tournament. And sure, against KLG they had some good starts, but against YG they're just getting solo killed and losing these trades in the bot lane. And it's like, what is happening with the Fnatic that we know from the EOLCS? And it almost is like a throwback to Rift Rivals, where they bring their strategy and just doesn't carry over onto an international stage, when it really, they should still be one of the better teams based on the skill positions and what they have on that roster. So it's a little confusing to see Fnatic struggling. Maybe in a best of 5 they'll turn it around when they can adapt to the other things that teams are doing. But so far, at least against Young Generation, they have looked incredibly shaky.
Yeah, and specifically in some of these late game macro moving around stuff, a lot of the guys are just getting caught warding or getting caught being over aggressive in Brox's case in the jungle, and they just kind of seem not on the same page in a lot of these things. And yeah, the fact that they struggled so mightily to close out YG in that first game that they played, also a little concerning. And you know, they had kind of mentioned back in the EULCS playoffs they were almost looking past Misfits to that final against G2, and then that bit them in the butt, obviously, as they lost that series. I don't believe there's any way they're looking ahead of this play-in to the already Worlds group stage. It's just because the stakes are too high. They said they haven't been doing that. That would be a little absurd. But I think they'll get back on track and play back to that Fnatic style. But ever since the regular season ended, they've kind of been pretty wishy-washy, inconsistent. There's been moments where they 3-0 H2K, and which, by the way, isn't that crazy. H2K, can't really put much faith in them. But then, yeah, then they're losing to Misfits. It's hard to actually get a gauge. I'm not even sure if this Fnatic is a really good team or not.
Yeah, I don't know anymore. Is it the same team we saw that opened up the EULCS summer split?
Doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't seem like it at all. They're just not dominant. And the only kind of constant that we didn't really see in this most previous game is Reckless, maybe not dominating his lane, but at least racking up the CS and then just pushing everyone over from there. But one other thing to look at for Fnatic is some of these late game decisions, because even this last game against YG, they went to Baron at around 30 minutes and then basically just got backdoored by 3 members of YG. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
It's just so confusing. Again, another problem that reoccurs is they're obviously tilted. You've seen it in the player cams time after time, and I feel like if they fall behind early, It gets in their head, and they just keep trying to force these things.
Yeah, they've shown they're really not good at playing from behind because, yeah, you're right. They do force things, and like, it's one thing to be a team to not just sit back there and wait to lose the game. Sure, you have to try and make some of these proactive plays to get back into the game. But I mean, there's ones you can make that have less of a risk with them. Maybe not as big a reward if you go through with this play and you're like, great, if we do this, we get Baron, we're back in the game instantly. I mean, you've got to play it a little slower than that in a lot of these, like a kill here, a turret here, just getting objectives or getting kills wherever you can. Because when you're behind, I mean, basically trading even in turrets or kills is a win for you when you're already behind. But yeah, they seem to try and take off too much right away to get back into these games, and then you just lose.
And they did just lose.
Yep.
They did lose, so they exit the group stage at 3-1. Let's talk about HKA for a second, Hong Kong Attitude.
Sure.
It seemed like basically a best of 3 against Fenerbahce that they had to go up against. And one guy who stood the entire time was their AD carry in Unified. Someone who I didn't really know the name of too much. Sure, he came out of the LMS, but he kind of got overlooked by other people in that region, like Karsa, like Maple. But he was a guy for Hong Kong Attitude that really did stand out, had some spectacular plays, and even ended up basically winning the game by himself after another crazy Baron steal in this tournament.
There's Baron steals, pentakills. I mean, all the spiciness is right there. But yeah, I mean, you look at those numbers, he's better than Reckless in that group stage. He was definitely the most consistent guy on that squad. Even in those games where they were losing, he looked pretty solid. So, I mean, that's going to be definitely the center of attention, I think, in this series. I think both junglers are going to be hanging out for a little bot lane party because they're both teams are pretty reliant on their AD carries being super ahead and carrying them through these team fights. But I mean, based on that last game, I know it's only one game, but the Fnatic bot lane looked a little questionable. You're not accustomed to seeing them just dying straight up 2v2. It was them getting a little over aggressive, Reckless just walk right past the Lulu into a Glitter Lance and good night, nurse. But I mean, I can't see Fnatic falling behind 2v2, and I don't think that's necessarily the strength of the Hong Kong Attitude bot lane, is just stomping people 2v2.
Yeah, but for United, I mean, you look at some of the stats, his CSD at 10 was 17.6, which is outrageous.
That's insane.
Highest damage percent in the tournament, and this play particularly was the one that closed out the 4th game of the group stage against Fenerbahce to force that tiebreaker that they eventually lost. But it's just, after that Baron steal that they got, he just kept pushing down and eventually took all Nexus turrets, an AD carry and a Nexus.
The old 1v1 AD carry RNG fight. How many crits do you get versus how many do I get? Love them. But yeah, I mean, Hong Kong Attitude, I mean, I don't want to say they played solid because
it was so weird.
They didn't in the play-in, and a lot those games against Fenerbahce were some of the biggest clown fiestas, I'm going to call them. You got both teams stealing Barons with Syndra on both like opposite sides. It was insane. You knew it was going to a tiebreaker just because of how absurd the games that they were playing in were. So I'm a little worried for Fnatic, but at the same time, I'm not super confident in Hong Kong Attitude. But I could see this one being pretty competitive.
Yeah, I mean, HKA had a lead in that tiebreaker against Fenerbahce, ended up losing that game, throwing that one away after getting picked off and losing some team fights. So, yeah, HKA is just as shaky, probably more so than Fnatic after all, but you just expect more out of this Fnatic Russ than what we've seen, so it really could go either way in this one. I mean, I'm probably still going to lean Fnatic's favor, but I wouldn't be surprised to see HKA win this one.
Yeah, and I think there's a good chance that Fnatic fans are at least sweating in this one. I could definitely see it going to that 5th game. And that's, anytime it goes to a 5th game, it gets pretty scary because, I mean, one bad play, one missed smite, the other team, watch out for a Syndra if there's a Baron fight, man. She's going to steal that. She's apparently does more damage than smite, but yeah, not super confident in either of these teams. I think Fnatic does have that higher ceiling for what we've seen them achieve at their best throughout this split. If they play close to that level, I think they'll come away with this series win. And I mean, I'm expecting Reckless to play how he's played pretty much the whole split, except for a game here or a game there, and that is at an MVP level. Fantastic for Fnatic. We'll see if Soaz can get back on track to his regular season form, because I feel like he hasn't really been nearly as good since the playoffs or since the regular season ended.
Yeah, no, he's definitely fallen off, and maybe he's still tilted from the loss to Misfits there. But even Reckless in some of these games, after he was getting cheesed down there, he was visibly upset, which you don't usually see from him. So we'll have to see. But do remember that Hong Kong Attitude was a Pool 1 team. So they earned that spot, and now they're going up against Fnatic, another Pool 1 team. So we'll see who comes out on top. I'll probably take Fnatic 3-1, but it could easily go 5. And honestly, HK could win.
Yeah, I'm taking this Fnatic in 5 probably for this one. But yeah, this is definitely going to be the closest best of, I think, because, yeah, you're right. They are 2 Pool 1 seeds. So, I mean, even if Fnatic does lose, I would say it's an upset, but not a huge one. This is probably like 60-40 in favor of Fnatic. So,
all right. Well, that's Wednesday night wrapped up. Or wherever
Thursday
you are.
morning?
Yes, exactly. So the first 2 matchups, C9 going up against Lyon Gaming and Fnatic against HK. Probably the 2 more intriguing matchups.
Definitely.
Now we're going to get some other matchups that are less intriguing, but don't leave, please. Please stay.
Unless you like Clown Fiestas.
Oh, there will be
one
some.
Of these.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some interesting stuff. Also, send in your questions, of course, as always, and we'll hit them after we hit these other 2 series and let you know who's going to win or who we think is going to win. But first up on Thursday night / Friday morning / Friday night if you're in China.
Covers 3 days, this whole thing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Is Fenerbahce, who took Group D after a bunch of crazy games, going up against Team 1 eSports, who squeaked through after
beat Direwolves
twice in a row with a tiebreaker. Eric's very impressed by them, as am I. But let's talk about Fenerbahce first, because coming in, we all expected their jungler to be Move out of Gravity way back when, and now he couldn't get his visa stuff sorted out. So here comes Crash. And I'd say he's been performing okay, but there's still times where I'm like, hold on a second, what are you doing? Like right there with that Gragas barrel. So obviously that one got turned around, and then here comes the Lee Sin to kill him and whatnot. So there are moments where Crash is still obviously not perfect. That's fine. We've seen that too from Diamond Procs. But yeah, some weird Gragas play going on.
I don't know how people aren't able to execute on Gragas, like the must-have champion pool. But he did steal Baron.
With Gragas.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, he was good enough for them to get the top seed in that pool. I don't want to hate on my boy Move, but I mean, he's not fantastic.
Whoa. Come on.
I mean, he's been in a lot of different regions, so he's definitely got experience. He's got international experience inherently because he's played in, 4 different regions now? Might even be 5. But I'm impressed that they just sub in a jungler. I don't know how much time they actually had to practice with Crash, but it seems to be working okay. I mean, I don't think he'll be the reason if they were to lose. I don't see them losing this best of, by the way. I'll say that first. But yeah, I think outside of him and around him, the team looked not so bad. Frozen also had some plays where they were a little questionable. He got a little too hypey, tried for the solo kill, and just died. And of course, Padden got a couple of 1v5 jump-ins on Tristana, but he's got a pentakill. And really outside of a couple of those plays of him jumping in, he was probably one of the standout performers on that squad for them. But, the memes come through when he jumps in. But he was actually pretty solid for them, and I think he'll continue to be. And overall, I was pretty impressed with this team. Them, along with Gambit, were some of the most hyped up second seeds, or not Pool 1 seeds coming into this, and they delivered. Gambit did not.
Gambit did not at all, no. But yeah, Padden was a guy who, yes, he jumped into the whole team with Tristana, which is not optimal. But he was pumping out all kinds of damage other than that. And I mean, he did look good on Tristana outside of that one moment, and he's shown that he's probably the main guy that this team focuses on getting those kills. And Crash has done a decent job with that. I mean, he hasn't really been feeding, which is obviously good. Other than that first game, he's been keeping his deaths low in the 2 or 1 range. 1 to 2 range, I guess, makes more sense. But so he's not giving away any kills, and then he is facilitating the action in the bot lane for Padden to get those kills going on these hyper scaling AD carries that are now just the meta thing to do. So I've been impressed with what he's brought, considering the amount of time he's played with this team. The team as a whole has played pretty well around him as well. But yeah, I don't see much of a competitive series here. One eSports has been, I mean, they beat Direwolves. Woohoo for you. But man, the Cloud9 series for Team 1 eSports was really bad. So I see them going...
Wipe it out of your memory.
Yeah,
Wipe it out.
I see them going in one direction, and that is quickly out of this tournament.
Shout outs to One Direction.
Yes.
Hopefully they come back. You know,
depends on if you enjoy their music.
They're disbanded, guys. I don't know if you know that. But One Gaming, One Esports looked terrible. Especially like the first 2 games they played, everyone was kind of like, oh, I don't know if this team's good enough to be in this tournament. Like, they shouldn't even be here. They did rebound. I'll give them credit. The second day in the group stage, they looked miles better, way better. They still don't look that great. I still think they're probably getting 3-0'd by Fenerbahce just because, I mean, a lot of these newer teams, less experienced teams, they're basically playing for kills. It's a bit of that solo queue mentality. You saw that Direwolves against C9. They're just doing so much for these kills, focusing so much attention on one lane, and the more experienced teams, you're just accumulating CS leads, getting turret damage, eventually getting a turret, and it's like, great, we're down 8 kills, but we're up 1,000 gold. So, yeah. I mean, that's just not really how you play the game right now, is to just be running around getting kills, because you're just missing out on so many other resources around the map. I want to jump back to Fenerbahce real quick. One thing I really like about them is Thaldrin loved to go to that mid lane, whether he's on the Maokai or something, and just try. They were just diving mid lane. Yeah. When he's like level 6, you just throw a Maokai ult in, and then he flashed over with it. So that's something unique that you don't see a lot of teams doing, and I could see One Gaming falling victim to that a couple of times. So yeah, I think this is 3-0 for Fenerbahce.
I have to agree. I mean, Team 1 Esports is definitely the weakest team moving on into this knockout stage. And if you look at their mid lane, they've had 2 guys play, but I'm going to just read off a couple numbers here.
Oh boy.
Brewster, his CSD at 10 is negative 30.5. Negative
how many games is that? How many games?
Well, he played in 2, I believe.
2 games.
But even Marf was minus 15. This is in 10 minutes. And part of that was Jensen absolutely ripping him a new one, but you still can't really compete, no matter what your edge is in the bot lane. If you're down that much CS, and probably a couple kills.
If you're down that much CS, I hope you've died a couple times, because otherwise...
What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, the name Marf gets me every time. That is a pretty hilarious
name. It's like a 5-year-old trying to say Marth or playing Fire Emblem.
Or just sounds a lot like Barf. Which is
wow, that's pretty funny.
Kind of how he played. So. But
wow.
I think it's a little... It's too bad that, someone like Lyon or someone doesn't get to play against Fenerbahce, because now one of these teams is getting out. And not that Fenerbahce is that bad a team. Right. I think they're pretty solid. I mean, they beat Hong Kong Attitude twice, so they can't be that bad. But I think this might be more convincing than the World Elite series that we'll talk about in a sec. So.
Yeah, I can't give Team 1 Esports a win here. I don't think there's a chance. I mean, who knows? Fenerbahce has some interesting moments too. They're not perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're a tried and tested team that have been around for 3 years and been to Worlds before, played a lot of international competition. So, sure, there is the chance that they completely implode in themselves, but I don't think they will.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to skip one of these series,
that's the one.
Probably this one.
Yeah.
So let's get to the final series. World Elite against Young Generation. World Elite, obviously, the massive favorites going into this one. No surprise.
Slightly.
But Young Generation, I can't even say they looked that great, even though they beat
Fnatic.
I wanted to.
Yeah.
I really did. But yeah, they lost the game to KLG, and then they split with Fnatic. Splitting with Fnatic's impressive, but I think it's the worst for Fnatic to have that issue. But this is the final game against Fnatic here, where they just go for Baron, and then, they walk in the back door. Young Generation just literally walks down bot lane with 3 guys, and are like, all right.
Yeah, stop the ports, GG.
Tough game, GG easy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would have typed. But yeah, I mean, World Elite obviously is actually a world-class team and can compete with some of the best teams in the world. So I'd be hard pressed to see them drop a game. They looked pretty solid in the group stages. I mean, Lyon did give them a bit of trouble, but even when Lyon had that lead, it's just kind of that feeling you have when it's a solid team. You're like, okay, yeah, World Elite's down a couple thousand gold, but I still feel like they're going to win, and Lyon's going to have to pull off something else crazy to actually win this game. So I think World Elite, I don't even know if they definitely didn't bring out all their stuff in that group stage. I'm sure they've still got some picks, some strategies they haven't even touched yet. I think they 3-0. Young generation, it's more just a bad thing for Fnatic that they lost to them, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm just going to touch on a couple impressive things from YG so far. Their mid laner, Null or Naul, whatever you want to say. If you want to put an accent on that, you go ahead. I did.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, he's been pretty impressive, actually. Again, he's got a couple solo kills of his own. He's been probably the one guy who's been the standout. And he was someone who pushed Caps around a little bit in that Fnatic series. So if you're going to put emphasis on one guy, it's probably him. But he's going up against Xie, so that's going to be a tough matchup. And also, I do like what the support brings. Pallet, he made some plays as well on Thresh, some flash engages. He's looked pretty not bad for someone you don't expect coming into this play-in tournament. But overall, for young generations going up against this World Elite team, yeah, expectations can't be that high. You basically just have to stick with what your play styles have been. Be aggressive early, try to get those leads, and then hope that World Elite doesn't do some crazy macro stuff like they have so far in the tournament.
Yeah, and it's tough for young generation. Even though I think Cloud9 looked the best in that group stage, I still think World Elite is the worst draw to have in a best-of series because I think Cloud9 has shown that they can not play that great and drop a couple of games. I think World Elite going to be a lot more consistent in a best-of series, and I don't think they have a dud of a game. There's not going to be much opening for young generation. They're going to have, I mean, the only way I think they get a game is if they have some insane start to the game and get like a 5,000 gold lead through lane phase, but don't think they're going to be outlaning World Elite that crazily. So probably going to be a 3-0.
Yeah, and you mentioned those World Elite laners, so let's touch on some of those elite guys on WE. Starting with Xie, their mid laner, he's been pumping out damage so far. He's been playing Amin Jace, a great Talia as well. Seems like he can do it all. He loves to carry games when he has the opportunity. So he's been a pretty standout guy in the mid lane so far. And then Mystic, you haven't really seen it with kills and KDA, but damage-wise, he leads the tournament in damage per minute right now. So he was the guy coming into the tournament on World Elite. You're like, gotta watch out for Mystic. He's probably their top player along with Condi in the jungle, who brought some crazy Israel jungle stuff to this tournament as well.
Yeah, and I think Mystic overall, I think he had a bit of a slow start to that group stage. He definitely got outperformed by White Lotus in a couple of, probably both of their matchups, to be honest. But I think as the second day came in, he started getting rolling, and you could just tell that he was a cut above a lot of the other guys in this tournament. And yeah, I mean, this roster's it's world class. Yeah, we've said it before, they're the third seed from China, but they could as easily on a good day be that top seed and not have any business playing in this tournament. So they've probably got a couple of the top 5 players in this tournament. So good luck, young generation. I mean, it's a tough test, but you never know. You never know.
I think we do.
Actually, I do.
We do.
It's probably going to be a 3-0.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain it will be too. World Elite probably the most consistent of those 3 Chinese teams at the World's tournament, because RNG and Edward Gaming can do some pretty crazy stuff. World Elite's usually more calm, calculated, sit back, and kind of just out-rotate and out-macro gaming. You saw it with some of their crazy, exactly 20-minute Baron calls.
Which is a pretty good recipe for a tournament like this, where a lot of the teams are just go, 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 going. If RNG was in this tournament, they might try and do the same thing with some of these teams and actually drop some games. World Elite will just kind of be a wall and sit there and watch other teams throw everything at them, and then at 20 minutes they'll be like, okay, we're just going to go get Baron while you guys are running around down 20 CS everywhere. So they're going to win.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So we've got, believe it or not, everybody, C9, World Elite, Fenerbahce, and maybe Fnatic moving on. That's the one we're not certain about. The other 3, I think, will be pretty one-sided. Lyon could put up a fight because they were really impressive, but other than that, Watch out for Fnatic HK attitude.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm scared if I'm a Fnatic fan there because there is definitely the potential for Fnatic to lose that set. And I think it's going to be the closest one for sure. But the main thing to take out of these draws is that Fenerbahce Lyon Gaming series means there is not going to be another... there's not going to be all 4 Pool 1 seeds, which means TSM has a 50-50 chance of not getting World Elite in their group, which means they could potentially have Fenerbahce in their group, which makes that the easiest group in the history of Worlds.
Yes, that is Flash Wolves, TSM, Misfits, and Fenerbahce, if that's happens.
If they don't get out of that group, Reginald will likely disband Team Solo Mid to the dust. So.
And pretend they never existed.
That's right. Erase them from the history books.
To the dust, yes.
The e-books.
The e-books.
Question time.
Oh, we got a lot of questions here, Eric.
All right, here we go. I love questions.
Right. Here we go.
Hit me with your best shot. Pat Benatar, shout out.
Hold on. You want me to do something? I do love a good Pat Benatar.
Yeah, I know you do.
Who doesn't? First question from Philip Paul. Who are your favorite personal teams? If you had a team that you cheer for, tell the world what it is.
Well, right now it's definitely Lyon Gaming.
You're an idiot.
Just want to see them come up. No, I mean for Worlds, every year I pretty much just cheer for all the Western teams. Again, I've said it before. This is when EU and NA should unite as friends and try and be friends and see if we can collectively get to those semifinals. Even when Fnatic in Origin or H2K are in the semis, I'm happy to see that. So as long as there's a Western team in there, I'll be rooting for them.
Yeah, I used to be a pretty big CLG fan back in the Season 2 days.
So sorry.
Yeah, it was not a good time. Since I've become, on this show, I pushed the bias aside. But also really liked the Evil Geniuses team back in the day with Poe Belter joining forces with like Snoopy and stuff. They weren't good.
No, they were very bad.
It was a good time with Inox.
Inox.
I believe he was Canadian, if anyone remembers Inox.
Probably still is Canadian.
I don't know if he still exists.
That's true.
Question from Sean. TSM fans should hope Fnatic loses so we don't join their group. In terms of, Fnatic can't be in the same group as TSM.
Right,
because Misfits are already in there. So either way, I guess it doesn't really matter. If Fnatic loses, though, then that would mean HKA moves on, and they can't be in that group either.
No, I mean,
so it doesn't really matter. Neither team.
None of the matchups have any effect on TSM now. It is just a 50-50. They're either getting World Elite or the winner of that Fenerbahce one.
Yeah, so exactly.
It's just a coin flip.
Just a coin flip. That's all it is.
I'm really good at coin flips, so.
Are you?
Yep. There's a skill to it.
At least 50% on those coin flips?
That's right.
Sebastian Perez, who is the best support of the play-in so far?
Of the play-in so far?
I'm going to give it to my boy Ben on World Elite. He played 2 Janna games, 39 KDA. All you have to do is buy Ardent Sensor and press R.
Shield.
Yeah, and Shield. So I know he was mechanically pushed in those 2 games, but I mean, he's been good.
Yeah, I think it's probably either been him or maybe Smoothie's been pretty solid. I haven't really been blown away by any support in particular so far in the play-in. Smoothie's been pretty consistent, still not quite at the level that he was at during his peak of the LCS season, but yeah, I think him and Ben on World Elite, probably the top 2 guys in the play-ins. Not surprising, considering they're the 2 best teams in the play-in so far.
What a coincidence.
It's funny how the world works.
It is pretty funny. Ivan Neshkov, if Fnatic beat HKA, will they be in Group A? I gotta rethink the groups here. Fnatic could go into Group B with the Immortals, Longzhu, Gigabyte Marines group, or they could go into Group A, where there's SKT,
EDG,
Edward Gaming,
and AHQ.
AHQ.
So yeah, they're either going in A or B. Again, it's another coin flip.
Yeah, Fnatic would be hoping for B, though, for sure.
Yes, they would definitely be hoping for B. A looks rough.
Edward Gaming and SKT, pretty scary.
Yeah.
Pretty scary. Charles Glenn, with Cloud9's current roster, I think a 2018 Worlds trip is a given. However, I don't see it as a roster that can go deep at Worlds. Do you agree? What changes can they make to take them deep next year? Looking forward to next year already. Assuming they crash and burn and fail, which is probably...
Well, I mean, they're going to get... I think they're going to get into the main draw this year. They kind of got shafted in groups. They're either going to that group with SKT and EDG or that death group of G2,
Enjoy.
Samsung, and RNG. So don't think C9's getting out of the main group draw. They're not making it to quarterfinals. Going forward, I mean, I think the main move they'll probably be looking at is the top lane. Whether or not, I don't know what Impact's doing, if he's going to keep playing, if they feel confident in moving with Ray as their main top laner. I don't know. He's got some question marks around him. It's basically, I think, the only thing you can really say, because contracts Jensen and Smoothie, I would say, are all pretty great. You're not getting upgrades over them. Sneaky is probably the next guy you could move, but again, who's an upgrade over Sneaky? Snooki from Jersey Shore. You guys remember that show? Yeah. Great show.
Does she play League?
Yeah, she's really good.
Oh, okay.
I think she's bronze 3.
That's a great
she
reference.
Uses bronze.
I know. I understood.
I don't see an upgrade over Sneaky that you could get. So it's basically just their top lane and getting better at macro play.
Yeah, I would agree that the top lane is where you would look first. Impact consistency, kind of a problem. And Ray, I guess, is still dealing with his personal stuff or hasn't fit the team for a while.
Don't really know what exactly is going on.
No, nothing's been stated at all about Ray as a sub. So maybe they're just sticking with Impact Ray. Who knows? It could be that easy.
Yeah.
What do you think of Reckless? I think he's...
handsome.
First off.
Got to stop growing that facial hair, though.
Not a fan.
It's pretty... I'm going to use the word scraggly.
I gotcha. Maybe it's the playoff beard, man.
He's already shaved it a couple times, so...
It's the playoff beard, man.
Beard. As a player, he's fantastic.
Are you saying as a person he's terrible?
Oh, the worst. I've met him dozens of times. Never met him.
Okay.
But, no, I mean, he's really solid. MVP of the split, and he's said that he's kind of taken a step back. He doesn't need to be the main carry on Fnatic every game. But I feel like he does. He does have to be the main carry 90% of the time. There's the odd game where Caps will pop off, but I mean, you see him getting 1v1'd like he did in a couple of these games with the flash still up, and he needs more experience and exposure to some of these world-class mid laners, I think, before you can heavily rely on him to carry some of these games. He looked great in the regular season of the EU LCS, but once he's up this much stiffer competition, he doesn't look nearly as good.
Yeah, the team also always pushes so many resources onto the guy. I mean, they'll give up dragons just to get Reckless and farm on the top wave. And it's like, this is a little obscure.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like an Infernal Drake. And they're like, Reckless, just go top and we'll just give it away. No problem. Like,
and there was, I forget what game it was, but I think it was Broxa and Soaz had like, they had a kill. And they were just sitting there, serving it on a platter, waiting for Reckless to come like from base to last hit him. And then they were finally like, okay, we got to kill him or he's just going to walk away. But like he was running all the way as Varus to come and get that kill. So yeah, their whole strategy is just to get Reckless ahead. You saw in that same Varus game, he had like 350 CS more than anyone else on his team. So him more than
that was insane.
Pretty much any other major region team I can think of is like look to carry.
Yeah, it's even almost more so than the double lift back in CLG in the old days. Like the Guild Protect double lift comp. It's almost as severe as that.
Yeah, because that would just be, all right, double if you sit bottom and split push, and then at like 30 minutes come team fight. Reckless, it'll be like, okay, go bottom. Oh, there's a big wave top. Go get that. Oh, you want to come mid? Okay.
It's all yours.
Any lane that has a lot of farm, get Reckless in there. So there's a lot of pressure on him.
Let's say Cloud9 gets in that Group C. Which two teams do you see getting out? So that means there's RNG, there's Samsung, there's G2, and there's Cloud9.
Now the thing is
so bad.
The problem is you could make an argument for any one of those teams to get out.
Yeah, the easiest argument is with Samsung.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so Samsung's that top seed. I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
probably.
we'll lock them in.
I think the other three you could make a case for them to
really
get the second
go.
seed, which is what makes that whole group just insane. And We're going to get way more detailed once these are set. We're going to actually break them down. But I feel like G2 might get out as that second seed. I think RNG is a little too inconsistent. And like I think they could beat anyone at any given time, but they could lose to anyone at any given time. So I feel like it's probably like 4-2 is, if you get that, I think you're good for that second spot.
Probably.
And I could see RNG going 1-1 against everyone. So I think G2 squeaks out that second spot.
It really could be Cloud9 too. Like it's totally possible.
You could make a case for all three of those
it really could be RNG, C9, G2. I expect tiebreakers.
Yeah.
So some
three-way tiebreakers.
It's totally possible. It's gonna be like Samsung at 5-1, and then everyone else going like 2-4. I know the math doesn't add up. Ignore that.
Yeah.
But
If Samsung does go 5-1, it's basically who beat them.
yeah, exactly. And
But then they'll probably go 0-2 against RNG or something. So that will be the most interesting group, I think.
yeah. Shy Fool, it's one. Brazil or Turkey will qualify for group stage. Well, Turkey's got a good chance with Fenerbahce.
Yeah, I would say.
I would say that's almost guaranteed.
I would say Turkey's going to Worlds.
I would say Turkey's going to Worlds as well. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get to see Move. Maybe he'll come in for the actual group stage.
Maybe.
That would be great to see. Former Gravity jungler, former Unicorns of Love jungler, there before his old teams.
That'd be pretty hilarious. Well, Gravity's mounted a comeback, so just keep.
Oh, okay, I'll be ready.
Yeah, Hunter's going back to his old squad.
That's right. Screw TSM.
That's right. Shyful also wants to know, will we see Diana and Yasuo at Worlds? I mean, Yasuo potentially, but I still doubt it. I wouldn't be overly convinced by it unless you're rocking an Alistar Orianna composition kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe with that Lee Sin that synergizes well with it, the kick ulti combination, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah, I don't really see a Diana
Yeah.
coming in. I don't even know where the main spot you'd play her now. Is she jungle? Is she mid? I haven't seen many pros even playing her, or anyone playing her in solo queue, so I don't see her coming in. I want to see a Yasuo because Windwall just counters so many things. It's ridiculous to have in a team fight. You just make the AD carry basically useless, and I mean the ultimate's pretty game changing. The armor pen you get on it is so insane late game if you have a Last Whisper as well. I mean, maybe you'll see a Yasuo. There's going to be a lot of skilled mid laners, and when you see someone who is a mechanical god on that champion, it is insane.
It is very nuts. I remember watching Xiao Wei Zhao just bounce around on that guy back in the day.
I mean, yeah.
Nuts.
I mean, Lucian came up kind of as a counter pick to Orianna and some other guys. Maybe people are holding on to that Yasuo pick as a counter pick to some stuff, so we'll see.
Windwall is infuriated. I hate that spell.
It's a good way to break a mouse and a keyboard and a monitor.
One more question from Shy Fool.
Okay.
Will C9 Ray get the chance to play at least once? I don't see it happening now because I feel like if they were trying to get him involved, they would have given him some reps. Maybe not so much in the play-ins, but leading up to Worlds, maybe in that gauntlet, they could have got him a game against CLG after they got a lead or something. But
yeah, I think even during the play-ins, that would have been the time to do it. Like when they're up 3-0 and they've locked up a spot.
Yeah, throw him in there against the
dire
Direwolves.
To put him in. If you don't fully know what you're going to get out of them, you can't be putting them in this group stage, especially if they're in that group C. There's no chance. You can't drop a game or you're out. You can't like have a throwaway game and be like, oh, well, we'll get them next time. Every game's going to count in both of these groups, really, because it's either that or you're going up against EDG. So you can't really have a game to play with, and if they're not fully 100% sure what they're going to get out of Ray, Impact is by far the safer choice.
I'm with you. I think they stick with Impact the entire way. Philip Paul, who would you name as the top 3 most consistent North American players? And he also wants top 3 EU, if we have the time, which I guess we do.
At Worlds?
No, just in general, I guess.
Well, EU, I'm going to say...
Not so as.
Sven and Mithy. Does that count as 1 or 2?
That's 2. That's 2 people.
And Reckless.
Sounds pretty good.
All right.
It's nobody on the Unicorns of Love.
No. Well, Exile.
Exile's consistently bad.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I could throw Exile in there.
Yeah, you could. He didn't specify how good they had to be.
Yeah.
So that's a very good argument. North America?
Bjergsen.
Okay.
Pretty consistent, I'd say. I think Smithy's pretty consistent.
He is pretty consistent.
And maybe throw in
Even a smoothie could slide in there.
You could slide in a smoothie, I suppose.
Slide in a smoothie?
Yeah, why not? He's kind of had a couple weeks where he was a bit off.
I feel like that's more like sneaky being
okay.
questionable.
Same.
I think smoothie's been pretty solid.
I'm okay with smoothie.
You okay with it?
Yeah. I like smoothies.
They're pretty tasty.
Strawberry banana? Not so bad.
Shy Fool, another question. Keep them coming. We like answering questions.
We're ready.
If World Elite goes to Group B with Longzhu, the Immortals, and the Marines, will they get it?
Probably.
Probably.
That is not what Immortals want to see.
No?
Don't think there's any chance the Marines are getting out of that group.
Looks bad.
Right now, Immortals looks pretty happy, but yeah. They're probably getting Fnatic or Immortals. I suppose they could get... Who could they get? They could get Fenerbahce.
They could get Fenerbahce. Then Immortals are pretty happy.
So either way, NA's pretty happy.
One of
them's getting Fenerbahce.
Yeah.
That's pretty great for them.
Shadows.
But if World Elite goes into that Group B, Longzhu World Elite.
Yep. Immortals could take it, I think, but it would
they'd
not
have
be
to play
easy.
out of their minds.
They would.
And it'd be tough.
Yeah. Another question from Philip Paul. If you could bring back any retired player to play in the LCS, who would it be? And he wants to pick from each of us. After you.
I don't know if he's officially retired.
Oh.
But I want Forgiven, man. I want Forgiven. I don't care what LCS he's playing in. That guy is, first off, an amazing talent. The fact that when he came back to H2K, he hadn't been playing League.
Yeah.
For 2 months, he just wasn't playing. And then he came in, stepped in, was playing competitive, and was still one of the best ADs. That's insane. He played Heroes of the Storm, which is a terrible game. And he got to top 5 or 10 in that, I don't know, they have ladders, ranking system, whatever they have. He was near the top after playing for a month. So he's just really talented. And he talks so much trash, it's amazing.
He does talk a lot of trash.
He's a character.
He's definitely an exciting guy to watch / listen to.
Yeah, when you can understand him.
Which is 50% of the time, but still.
It's a coin flip.
It is. I'll take toys.
Wow.
All TPA mid laner toys.
Throwback.
Oh, we're going way back. That's right. His Orianna was revolutionary back in the day. On a champ that we see all the time now. So
everyone's got to be able to play Orianna.
I think I'll take toys. I don't know. I know he had some issues with his wrist, so maybe he can't even play anymore. But
play with your elbows.
That's right.
Yeah.
Philip, who do you think is the best Chinese team?
Well,
who do you got?
Based on my limited knowledge of the Chinese teams, I want to say people don't seem to think EDG is, despite being that top seed,
they don't
have that confidence in them. Everyone's kind of moving towards World Elite. I think if RNG plays the way, again, I get into these hypotheticals, very technical answers, If RNG plays to their best ability, I think they're the best.
I agree.
But I don't think that happens consistently enough that they could actually be the best. So I feel like it probably will be World Elite. I think after this group stage, you'll see that World Elite's the best.
I think RNG is the highest ceiling, but World Elite probably is the lowest floor and most consistent. So that's how I'll put it.
A lot of floors
and
EDG
ceilings. Is just kind of on the staircase, chilling in there.
They're just sitting on the staircase?
Sitting on the stairs.
Okay. Playing Slinky on it? You ever do that as a kid? Drop a Slinky down the stairs? Good fun.
Who wouldn't? What percentage chance do you see no Korean team getting to the finals? How about a 0?
No. There's always a 1%.
There's not.
There's a 1%.
No, there is not.
The Koreans could all be hanging out on a staircase. The staircase implodes. They all fall. They all break their wrists.
Only their wrists.
Not just their wrists.
We don't want anything more severe.
You break the fall with your wrists. 15 broken wrists. Do they still get out? They probably still get out with broken wrists.
They'll be switching to their other hand and be like...
No, they broke both.
You said 15 broken wrists.
Oh, that's a good point. 30 broken wrists.
30 broken wrists.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rough couple of weeks for those guys.
Yeah. They might still get out of groups, to be honest.
Yeah.
With broken wrists on the whole team.
So basically,
1%.
He's putting 1%. A very low percent. If there's a 1% chance of staircases imploding with all 15 Korean players on them,
be careful.
That's pretty Terrifying.
On
I don't want
staircases.
to. Yeah, no kidding.
Take the elevator. Much safer.
Philip Paul wants to know, what do you guys think of the new Super Galaxy skins coming out? Some of the champs seem like weird picks for that skin set. Nar has the best one in my opinion. I didn't even know Nar got one.
Is this the Star Guardian ones?
Apparently.
The Ezreal one's very confusing. Why does he have wings?
He's guarding the stars, man.
I don't know. It seemed like does Nar really have one?
I
I don't know what all these skins are.
Yeah, I gotta look it up. There's like 13 of them now. Or something.
Oh my lord.
I don't know. They're really pushing it. The money grab.
Yeah. They do a good job of
They do.
money grabbing.
Yeah.
I just want a quick side rant. For these pick'ems for Worlds, if you get everything in the group stage right, which is pretty insane to get the top 2 seeds in the right order for all 4, it's pretty tough. What do you get? 4 skins.
Only 4 skins.
And they're not even good ones.
No.
Like Spirit Guard Udyr, Pulsefire Ezreal.
It's crazy.
No one wants those. You should get a sick cash prize or something for getting them all right. But Riot, that's all they give you.
Only
It's
4.
not fair. Just 4. It's not fair.
It's ridiculous.
All that something cooler.
The odds of getting a full pick'ems right is
1%.
very low. It's as likely as 15 Koreans falling downstairs
No,
and
the
breaking all
stairs
their wrists.
falling.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, they understand.
Yeah.
It's that likely.
Yeah. So
I'll
get
just-
something cooler.
I'll just bet on that instead.
Seriously. Don't bet on that.
It's too late.
Okay.
Nicola Pepavani wants to know, what are the chances of Misfits winning against TSM?
I think they could win a game.
I think they could win a game.
What are the chances they win? I don't know, 30%? Give them 30% chance they could beat TSM once.
Yeah,
Not going to 2 all of them.
I think if it was like a best of 5, it would be like a 3-1. So I think giving them like a 25 to 33% chance is reasonable. They're not. Misfits is not a bad team. I know they struggled against teams like G2 and whatnot, but they're probably on the like second tier below G2 and TSM.
Yeah, TSM should be better, a lot better. Yeah, they probably should 3-0 them. If that's the way to measure it, should be a 3-1, which means they could win 1 out of 2.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yep.
Do you think Longzhi will choke / are overhyped? I don't think they're overhyped, man. I mean,
What's choking?
not winning, I would say.
Like, that's choking if they don't win the whole tournament?
If you win the LCK, I think the hype is to win the entire tournament.
I mean, I feel like choking would be like they lose in quarters.
That would be a massive choke.
That would be.
I guess it depends on the category of choke. Is it a category 1 choke or a category 5 choke?
There's 5 categories?
I-
Wow.
I'm just sticking with the whole category system.
Okay. Well, the system's very elaborate. We'll need a whole show to go through that.
Yes.
But I don't think they'll choke. I think they'll get to, at least semis. I think if they lose to like SKT or even Samsung, I don't know if that's choking. I think if they lose to anyone that's not a Korean, it's
Then
choking.
it's a choke.
Yeah. But I don't think they will.
So do you think they'll win the whole thing? Based on that definition of choke?
Interesting question.
Thank you.
No.
Wow.
You like that
Stay
dramatic
tuned.
pause?
Yeah, that was good.
Dramatic?
You been in the theater school?
Yep.
Making sure you
10
do
years.
some- Wow. All right. Question from Panos for you, Eric. Which
Okay.
EU and TSM are likely to go to groups?
Which EU and DSM?
That is what the question says. Let me try to interpret.
EU
quickly.
and NA.
Yeah. I guess which teams from EU and NA are most likely to get it? Well, TSM, at this point, looking at their potential group, should almost be guaranteed to get out.
But if World Elite gets in there and Fenerbahce's in Immortals,
Then Immortal
you
should
might
be.
say Immortals is more likely.
It's still very dependent, so it's hard to answer
Yeah.
who's getting out of groups.
Whoever doesn't get World Elite is more likely to get out of groups.
Yep,
But if World Elite doesn't go into TSM, they should get the first seed.
they should.
For EU, boy, they're in tough.
They are.
I mean,
Misfits
It's-
are screwed-ish.
the best chance is probably Fnatic if they get into Group B.
Yeah.
I mean, G2 does have a chance, but they got some tough competition. If Fnatic gets into that Group B, they're basically competing against Immortals for that second spot, and they could do that.
They could do that.
But, yeah, Misfits, I mean, if World Elite doesn't get in there again, they could maybe get second. They could maybe beat Flash Wolves.
The trend here is
who doesn't have World Elite not going. Where in the world is World Elite?
Sounds like a fun game. Yeah. Chaos Knights. If Fenerbahce slots into Group D, what does that group look like? It looks like a TSM moving on.
TSM.
With either Flash Wolves or Misfits.
If Fenerbahce goes in Group D, TSM should go to semis. They should.
Look at this guy.
They should get the top seed.
And then beat a number 2 seed.
Unless somehow SKT gets second in their group and then they get matched up with SKT. But they should have as good a they will have as good a chance as they're possibly going to get the semis.
Yeah. All right, we got a few questions left here. Let's plug away, sir.
Plug it.
SHA Chase, are we overhyping NA because of C9's performance in the play-ins? Remember the last time NA were hyped? I'm not holding C9's performance too much into what the other teams are bringing at all. I mean, C9 has looked good, but yeah, the teams are Dire Wolves and Team 1 eSports, which are teams they should be doing this to. Yes, they've looked good, but I mean, you can't hold that to another tier against some of these better teams. So maybe it'll be a little bit of a better test against Lyon. Still, it's a team they should beat.
Yeah.
But I mean, TSM, they looked fantastic pretty much the entire split. And I think it's their time to actually have a good Worlds tournament, and then Immortals still. We're just kind of going based on what we've seen from North America and looking at what the group's going to offer. So
yeah, I think the main reason that there's hype behind NA is because they got pretty much as good a draw as you could hope for. And I mean, there's a bit of hype for NA every year. This is their best chance ever. This is the best chance ever, sending the best teams. But I think, yeah, the groups have finally aligned for them. And whichever one gets World Elite, one of the NA teams has a very good chance of getting out of groups. So,
yep. All right.
That's why they're hyped.
That is why they're hyped. Rocket Y, do you think Immortals can beat Longzhu?
I mean, they could.
They could, yeah.
It's possible. Rocks Tigers lost to Albus Nox. So, I think Immortals is better than Albus Nox.
I would think so, yeah.
Longzhu, are they better than Rocks at that time? Hard to say.
Rocks was pretty good back then.
I mean, they maybe could, but I don't think they match up that well against Longzhu. Basically, Xmithy would have to completely take over the game because I think the weakest part on Longzhu is because didn't even mean to do that. I mean, the rest of that roster is just so insane. That bot lane, Ole and Cody Sun, if they play like they did against TSM, I think they might be in some serious trouble because obviously Prey and Gorilla are the best bot lane in the world.
Of course.
So not much room for error there. But, I mean, Immortals has to play the best they've played all split to take a game off Longzhu.
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy task for a team loaded with...
Go second seed.
Hey, let's go.
Immortals could go 4-2.
They definitely could. All right. Philip Paul wants pants on the mannequin, apparently. First of all, her name is Daphne, so please don't insult her.
Yes.
And she dresses how she wants. We don't control that, so... We walk in here every day.
It's a nightgown.
She dresses.
It's a nightgown.
It's a nightgown.
Yeah.
Don't talk to Daphne like that. Sean Hepp, best cheese pick possibility.
Ezreal's pretty cheesy.
It's pretty cheesy. I gotta do some research on that one.
Oh, you gotta do some research.
Let's see.
I feel like it's just not worth it to like pick a cheese pick because usually you're picking them to like stomp a lane. Maybe Nunu. Nunu's pretty cheesy.
I suppose there's no Dignitas at Worlds though.
I think Contracts played.
Oh, that's
Nunu.
right, he did.
Maybe Nunu Ezreal. Those aren't cheesy though because everyone's kind of maybe not expecting a Nunu, but people are expecting the Ezreal now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what a cheese pig is. It's hard to define cheese pig now.
We have to define cheese.
It's more cheese strats that are the things to do. Like those
lane
level
swaps.
2 things.
I'm just waiting for someone to lane swap at Worlds.
Man, I don't know. All right. We got 3 questions left unless some more roll in. Sci-Fool, prediction for Faker versus Scout in that Edward Gaming versus SKT matchup.
I think Faker's Faker.
Ooh.
Scout, he's looked pretty solid. Formerly of SKT, I believe, right? He was on there as like
I'd have to
third
confirm.
mid laner.
They like their mid laners.
Yeah. So I guess he's going against his teacher. I mean, Faker at Worlds, he gets a pretty massive buff. I think he wins pretty much every matchup in that group.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who gets slotted in that 4th spot.
Yeah, Scout's no pushover, though. He's definitely a guy to look out for. I think he's one of the underrated guys of this tournament. But
I don't think by any means Faker goes in and clobbers him by 50 CS, 2 solo kills, but...
Shout out Brewster.
I don't think Faker loses lane in the group stages. Yeah.
Sweet. From Piri, at JPirikos on Twitter, do you think G2 will reach as high in the tournament like last year at Worlds?
As G2 did last year?
Like, will G2 get as far as they did last year?
Well, they didn't get very far last year.
So I would hope so.
So I don't think they can go worse.
That would be nice.
2-4?
Yeah, they didn't do that hot, huh?
No.
I would expect better, even though they're in a rough group.
Yeah, I think they'll finish at least 3-3.
Which is actually saying quite a bit, considering you have RNG and Samsung in your group.
Yeah, that's maybe taking a game off everyone or 2-0ing someone. So
Yeah.
I think they might get in. I think they're going to get into a tiebreaker at least, which, I mean, again, I have to double check the math, but I mean, they could all probably finish 3-3 outside of Samsung.
Yeah, definitely good.
Which
that's what I'm kind of looking at.
Would be pretty interesting.
Bring those tiebreakers.
I think G2 gets out of that group, though.
It's gutsy, Eric.
Yeah, I know.
Alexander Gustafsson, do you guys think that NA would get to groups with no EU or Korean imports?
With no EU.
Maybe if you put them all on one team.
Well, I mean, Cloud9's only got Impact, right?
Jensen's very EU.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Huh.
Nope, I don't.
It would be CLG, basically.
We got to get rid of Huhi then.
I think he's considered... Well, he was an import at the start, yeah.
Well, if he doesn't count, then Bjergsen doesn't count.
Yeah, that's true. So before you sign up to the team next, you have to be in the country for like 3 years first. And
then probably not, just because they won't field a roster that has that, because they're always importing.
There'd be some... Yeah, they'd have to put some super team action together.
Which they probably won't do. Got to pay for the talent, not groom it. That's the strategy.
All right. Last question.
The finale.
Can teams like EDG take advantage of the SKT top lane? Remember, Huni tilts easily. That's probably the place to go if you're looking to beat SKT. Because, yeah, Huni not only somewhat tilts, but just some games he doesn't show up whatsoever.
Yeah, I feel like that we might see that get kind of overblown at this tournament, just because I think that coaching staff, which is, by the way, the best in the world, and Huni himself knows he's kind of prone to this. I feel like they wouldn't have chosen him as their sole top laner unless they knew that this was something they could work around. So I feel like he's just been working, and even in scrims, I would just be like playing against, I don't know, sister teams or whatever, being like camp top, train this guy so that he's 0-4 and still like contributing to the game. I think it's not going to be as big an issue as people like to make it believe to be. So they might try and take advantage, but I think SKT will be ready. And if you're focusing everything on Huni, I mean, Faker and Bang are more than capable of carrying a game.
Yeah,
so
you can't get too focused in on just killing Huni.
Yeah.
That's not going to work too well. But that's all the questions for today. Thank you all for the questions. That was
questions.
A lot of questions. Wow.
We love it.
Fatigued. Ooh, yeah.
I can tell you're sweating. Soaked.
Yeah, it's pretty damp in here, Eric. Yeah. We got rain in the studio last night. So.
Can't believe it. No roof in here, by the way.
No roof. That's why it's so bright. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for tuning in today. Make sure you guys watch the knockout stage tonight, tomorrow, Friday morning, wherever.
The next 72 hours or something.
There it is. Thank you, Eric. Yeah. Because there should be some interesting things to this side who actually goes on to the World's Tournament. But next week, we will be doing, once the groups are decided, we'll do our full pick'ems, tell you who's moving on, which two teams at each group are going to get out of those groups. So 2 more shows coming next week.
And then the big tournament finally starts next weekend.
Yes.
Or what does it start, Thursday?
It starts on Thursday, I believe. Yeah, a week tomorrow. That's right. Worlds is here.
It feels like it's been hyped up for months.
It has.
It has.
Yeah,
That's fair.
So that's why you feel that way.
Yeah.
But anyways, make sure you guys, if you don't already, subscribe on YouTube. Hit us on Twitter at SC_esports. Do all that fun stuff so we can tell you when we're going live. But yeah, thanks for tuning in today. That's Eric Kummel. I'm at Hempstead, and we will see you next Monday at 3 p.m. EDT.